Welcome guys, Brandon here from Terminated Gaming, once again back on World of Warships with another World of Warships replay of mine. This is a tier 10 match on the Sea of Fortunes map. It's a domination style match. Here's the lineup. And I am playing in the tier 9 Neptune. Of course, you could remember back to I was playing the Edinburgh, grinding my way towards the Minotaur, however you want to say it. Anyways, this is another one of those prime examples of the game is never truly lost. And I caveat that with saying, as long as you're not like down 06 or 07 or something like that. But even still, some games are still winnable, depending on how well your team or yourself can play. This comes down to not necessarily all of my carry, but just my team's carry in general, just having some good players that could pull their weight for the players that couldn't necessarily pull their weight. Anyways, so on Sea of Fortune, if I spawn in like close to B and there's no aircraft carriers, I do like to take these British light cruisers into B, pop a smoke if I get spotted, and shoot over the island that's in the bottom part closer to the enemy spawn from our side. So whichever side you're on, you just switch it to closer to the enemy side. And as long as nobody on the enemy team went B, you can actually lob shells into their sides while they're trying to face forward on your opponents in either A or C. Generally C. So instead, I've moved into position here. I do run a range modification on my Neptune, which allows me to shoot out further. Of course, you know, your shells are going to be more inaccurate, but it gives you a little bit more flexibility. But I park myself around this island here to hopefully not get spotted by the enemy. So I just start lighting into this North Carolina, trying to get ranging, all that. But you kind of got to spread your shots. So I'm not necessarily using the same bearing each time. I'm looking to make sure if I can shoot the DD, because if I can shoot the DD, I want to shoot the DD. Of course, you want to make sure you focus them down. It's a big help for your team. So right now our Shimikaze was the one that was spotting everything, so we kind of have to sit here and wait. Of course, I'm not needing to use a smoke screen because there's not going to be anything that spots me, but as soon as I do get spotted, I will pop that smoke. But I'll go back to farming this North Carolina for the few seconds that he's up. But yeah, so of course the enemy team does capture C. And we've captured B, they're capturing A. We don't really have any of our team at A, so that's going to cause us problems later in the match. Here I'm trying to find the shots on the Turpits, but then I see the North Carolina back in open water, so I switch my fire back to him. Trying to hit that Turpits was difficult. You know, shooting over an island is not necessarily the most easy thing because you can't see where they're going, so you got to use the mini-map and try to line up shots. But, you know, if you got the easier shots, like on this North Carolina, I'm going to take those. Like doing 3, 5, you know, 6,000 damage. And then I see the Des Moines, I'm like, okay, he's a radar cruiser, I better help try to eliminate him, and then switch back my fire to the North Carolina. There you see I get spotted, but I didn't immediately pop my smoke because I was curious of where I'm getting spotted from, and then somebody starts targeting me. I'm still not wanting to use my smoke, so I'm just going to pull forward, and then now I've popped my smoke. Granted, you might argue I waited too long to do that. And yes, because the Turpits did manage to fire at me. And this sure, you know, could have easily have ended me if he would have hit me. I mean, I'm in a British light cruiser. I don't run a detonation flag because I rarely ever get detonated. But when I do, that's the moment you want to have that flag, right? Those last shots there, since the Turpits wasn't spotted, are going to hit the island. That's kind of a problem. Unless you have a spotter plane, it's really hard to actually get the shells to go right over the island. Of course, the Des Moines is now visible again, so we're going to target the Des Moines. We're up to only like 36,500 damage. But we want to make sure we help out our team, taking out targets that need to be dead, like the Des Moines. So we put a few shots into him, but... And then we switch our fire back to the Turpits. Of course, I do like the British light cruisers for the fact of their guns fire decently fast, their AP hits decently hard, it doesn't overpen cruisers or DDs, but it does just enough damage to battleships you don't really miss not having HE. So that's what's really nice. And then at range, you know, the shells plunge down, so they got a decent enough amount of penetration, and they can do significant damage at range. Of course, now, after recording this, I do actually have my Minotaur. I got that a few games after this. I didn't actually beat... I wasn't on the Edinburgh and the Neptune for very long, thanks to special camos and all that. Here I noticed these torps come in. I didn't actually ever pop my Hydro here because I didn't think I was going to need it. But thankfully we had some ships that were screening for us, so didn't have to worry too much. You notice the enemy team over in A has actually finished their cap on A, and they're actually pushing around. And I think this is where they could have ended up actually winning this game if they didn't do what they're doing. A lot of ships you can see are in those island chains instead of just pushing over. I guess they still don't realize that my team is not in that position. So here I slam on the brakes. I notice I have shots on that Iowa, so I'm going to just start putting shells onto him and hopefully get stopped before I go around the corner of the island. The only problem here is he's straight basically bow onto us. I mean, shell's arc doesn't matter here, but the thing is he's a small target, so the shells are dispersing to the left and right of him instead of going straight across him. But we're going to be able to just farm a lot of his health here because he's in a bad spot. Just being constantly lit, and I can't get spotted where I'm at currently by anything on his team. And he really wouldn't be able to return fire too awfully easily, so here he goes unspotted, but he's in open water, so I still kind of continued trying to lead where he would have been and using the explosions to kind of help me figure out where he is. Of course, there I overlet how far back he went, so I'm bringing it back towards myself. Then I kind of give up on him for a bit because I wasn't getting a lot of hits. Then I get one hit, and yeah. So he did end up actually like turning around the back of that island, so that's why my shells weren't leading. Those ones are going to hit the island, of course. And there is a DD that's in that smoke screen right there. Kitakaze. But down goes the enemy gearing to our Stalingrad. He's also one of those players that did really well this match. I come out here, pop my smoke. I almost didn't need to here because that that gearing smoke is actually masking me. I think I just got spotted once. I do pop my Hydro in case that Kita decides to come out and try to torp, but I'm also bowing towards him, so I'm not too worried. But of course, I'm gonna stay safer rather than play it more risky here. But yeah, as you notice, the salvos, when they hit in a good spot on enemy battleships, especially like things like the North Carolina, like the Iowa, the Tirpitz, with a large amount of superstructure, those ships take a lot of damage from these cruisers. And you notice they get spotted here inside the smoke. That means there is something within 5.5 kilometers of spotting me, which I think that Kita just had just an angle around his smoke to actually spot me in mine when I fire. So I move away from there. And then this Shima gives me a nice little bit of smoke here to use too, but I think it was for him, but I'm going to use it to my advantage. As you notice, we're down 500 points, down by 2 kills. And, you know, I still have all my health. I haven't used heal, I haven't been hit. I've been shot at once, so I'm not in a bad spot. You notice I look at my torps to see which way enemy ships are going. Of course, the bonus with the British is they have the single fire torps, which are really good at close range, so you can place them all in the same spot. But the thing I like about the Neptune and the Minotaur compared to the Edinburgh was the fact that they have more torpedo tubes. So the Minnow and the Neptune both have 2 sets of quad launchers, which is really nice. And you notice that the Iowa got super unlucky, got 2 overpens against my light cruiser side. So I'm going to sit here, I hold my fire, just leave the torps up, And I'm going to pull forward. And I think I switch over to single fire. Yep. And I just start launching. He's reversing, but I've launched all 8 of my torps. Notice his guns aren't pointing at me, so I sail out and I start firing as soon as I leave the smoke. And I'm pointing my butt away to present the smallest target possible, because I do not want to get slapped here. Of course, I am in a light cruiser, so I do miss with all the torps because he does get under speed. This is where, you know, using the single fire launch might not have been a great idea. I popped my smoke, didn't slow down enough when popping it, but it works out because I have the increased range of my smoke screen. It might be one of those ones you don't need to take, but putting it behind me like that allowed me to disengage, so he couldn't spot me. Here I tell my team, hey, let's focus on this Iowa. He's low. Shima comes around. I think Shima might actually torp him here. I'm not remembering real well. This game is actually a little old. And you notice he's trying to, I think he's trying to blind fire me here in my smoke. Yeah, see. And if he had a spotter plane, that would have been super easy for him. But since he doesn't have a spotter plane, that's not super easy for him. So we get to just continue to farm our way at him. As long as I'm 5.8 kilometers or further away, he's not going to spot me, even in the smoke. And then there's the sound of my torps coming back up. I'm just going to keep putting shots into where he was last seen. And he dies to a torp from the Shima. And then there's another set that, you know, those always freak me out when they come in. It's like, oh, these could be my death. These could be the end of me. Here you see both of the 2 starting battleships that we were farming at the start of this match. And so I start playing a little bit more risky here. I mean, we're up a kill right now. We have a damage or hit point advantage. The enemy team has been dealt with an A, but we're still down 300 points. The enemy team is basically still going to win this match. There they take out. We're even on kills now. I'm spotted by an aircraft, which is that Tirpitz' spotter plane. I switch fire to the Tirpitz just for a second there. I'm no longer spotted. Have the smoke screen in between me and the plane. Hit the Tirpitz a few more times. Kill the North Carolina. Now we're up by 1 kill. I use one of my heals just to get back up on a little bit of health, because that little bit of health might come in handy if I were to get hit. So now I'm going to try to loop shells onto that Iowa, which is, I think, proves a little bit more difficult than I'd like. But then I have to switch to the Tirpitz quickly because Tirpitz is closer. So thankfully the Tirpitz has 15-inch guns, which don't scare me quite as much as the 16-inch guns of the enemies, and we dodge them anyways. That was very unlucky by the Tirpitz, you know. I wouldn't blame it necessarily on his skill more than just RNG factor was kind of screwed him. Tirpitz does have torps, so I do pop a hydro here just so I get advanced warning. Once again, he fires his front turrets and they do nothing. So I kind of feel bad for the guy here, but hey, you know, it gave me the results I get, so I can't complain. And we get the kill there before he gets another salvo off. And you notice that Iowa there is actually looking in my direction. So I start to try to slow up. And then I speed back up. Because he looks like he's aiming further behind me, but then he does. But he fires HE. HE's still gonna hurt, as you see. But it could have been worse. If he had AP, it might have been my death. We're up 2 kills, but the enemy team no longer getting any points. Or they're getting C now. But they're still 200, 300 points ahead. So we need to kill this Iowa. I'm going to become in a position to be useless shortly, because the island's going to mask all my shots, but it looks like he's going to go down to somebody. There's my high caliber. So we're up to 176,000, almost 177,000 damage. I was actually healing now. He wasn't taking enough hits from the team here in order for me to not, but I just couldn't fire at him anymore because he's getting too close to the island. So I slow up. I'm going to hold torpedoes. I get spotted by his plane, but I'm not too worried. He can't shoot me right now. And we just nuke all of those. Of course, British AA, not to be trifled with. And I just start single launching the torps. And then I pop my smoke, because he's not going to be able to see me if I don't fire here. So he's not going to get any shots at me. Well, he does, though. And this is where I said, healing those little bits of health even makes it so I don't die here. But that Iowa came real close to nuking me out of the water. And then we see the Kidda. This is the last ship on the enemy team. He kills our Shimikaze. I put a few shots into his smoke screen. Pop my heal, obviously, because he could gun me down right now. And now we have to play chasey with this Kidda. Try to find where he's going. Because the enemy team still will probably win.
Thank you.
So I tell I think our friendly Iowa back there to go and go in to see and cap it. In retrospect, maybe I should have. But I feel like I could chase down this Kidda more likely. Granted, now I was like, at this point I was like, oh, he just needs to run away. The enemy team will probably win on points because we have 3 minutes left. They're still gaining points for a little while longer. I should have been the one to step in cap, and then all of a sudden the Kidda comes up. Like, he's right there. And I'm like, okay, we just need to eliminate this Kidda. So I start laying in. But of course it's AP, so it's gonna, if he stays on that course, he kind of but the Iowa comes in out of nowhere and completely eliminates our enemy Kidda in front of us. So here are the battle results. As always, I have them just as screenshots. We had a high caliber that game and 3 kills, 187,000 damage, 29,000, almost 30,000 XP, but I think that was on our 50% as well. 562 hits with main battery. We got 2,300 base XP for 3 kills, 5 aircrafts because there's no aircraft carriers. High caliber, so. Baltimore on our team also played really well that game. He was the one that went off over to A to kind of come in behind all the enemy. Most of our damage came to the battleships, 3 of which, North Carolina, Iowa, Tirpitz, and in Iowa. 3 of those were kills on our part. And of course we did only 6,000 damage with the torpedoes, even though we launched 16 of them. But that's what happens when you're not very accurate with torpedoes. And finally, the battle results, 580,000 credit profit, which was quite nice. And here you see all the reasons that we got our 30,000 XP. We, of course, had a 100% win bonus because this was played during one of the special events. So I hope you guys have enjoyed. If so,
Shut up and sit down.